What type of identification do you need to visit Ireland? I'm breaking that down for you in today's podcast. Hi, thanks so much for joining me again here on the Traveling in Ireland podcast. For today's podcast, we are continuing the Planning Your Ireland Vacation series with the topic, what documents do I need to visit Ireland? And this is going to be easy and quick. Now, before we dig into that, I just want to remind you of the My Ireland Vacation Planner and Journal. This planner and journal has 4 sections to help you plan every aspect of your Ireland vacation, from budgeting to itinerary, transportation to packing, and so much more. You're going to find really easy worksheets, loads and loads of tips, and it wraps up with a journal to help you remember your Ireland vacation memories. You can grab this planner and journal at irelandfamilyvacations.com/Ireland planner and use code podcast10 to save 10%. Now, let's just jump right in to the documentation you need to visit Ireland. Ireland is actually really easy paperwork-wise for visitors from North America and Western Europe. All people need from those places is a valid passport, and you can enter the Republic of Ireland or Northern Ireland. Now, your passport must be valid for the length of your trip, and you must also have at least 1 blank page for your entry stamp. If you're visiting from the United Kingdom, you can actually just use your official photo identification to enter Ireland, the Republic, or Northern Ireland. And EU citizens can use their national identity card to travel through Ireland, including Northern Ireland, as long as they arrive and depart via an airport or ferry port in the Republic of Ireland. Now, if an EU citizen travels to or from Northern Ireland directly, a passport is required. You want to be sure before you travel that you check with your travel provider, so your transportation, what ID they need. So whether you're arriving by air, by ferry, or on a cruise, you need to make sure you know their paperwork requirements as well, so that you don't have an issue getting onto that transportation. Now, all Americans and non-EU citizens that enter Ireland on a passport can remain in the country for 90 days as long as their passport is valid for that period of time. If you plan to stay longer than that 3 months, you must apply to extend your visitor permissions. And that is a kind of a longer process, involves paperwork and certified mailing and all of those things. So you will find more information on that and a link for the Irish immigration website in the show notes. So there are 24 countries that currently require a tourist visa to enter Ireland, and requirements vary for these countries. So the best information to understand what citizens of those countries need to visit Ireland is found at the tourist path page of the Irish immigration website. And again, there is a link in the show notes for that. And it's such a nice page because you tell them where you're coming from, and it lays out exactly what you need to visit Ireland. So if you are coming from a country that requires a visa, that's going to be the best place for you to get that information. Now, as I said, for citizens of North America and the EU, all you need is a passport to enter Ireland and Northern Ireland. If you are in Ireland on your vacation and you enter Northern Ireland, know that there is no hard border between the countries. So if you plan to visit the North by car or by train, or even on a bus tour, there are no passport checks and no need to show your paperwork. Travelers arriving into Northern Ireland by air or sea will comply with UK travel regulations. And as with Ireland, a valid passport is all most people need to visit Northern Ireland, arriving in Northern Ireland, and you can remain there for 3 months with no additional tourist visas necessary. For more information on visiting the UK as a standard visitor and visa requirements, you can visit the Visas and Immigration page at gov.uk, and that is linked in the show notes as well. Now, one more piece of documentation that you might want to consider when you travel to Ireland is travel insurance. And this is actually something we will be covering in the next episode of the podcast. So I'm just going to touch on it very, very briefly. My main point is this: if you can't afford to lose the money that a canceled trip will cost, then you should probably look into travel insurance. You can buy travel insurance to cover practically anything that you will encounter on a vacation, but you need to read the policy carefully before you buy it. And again, we are going to go more in depth in that in the next podcast episode. For my American listeners, I'm just going to kind of run through what is required to get a US passport. It's relatively simple, but you need to make appointments to do it. I don't know of any places anymore that you can just walk in and have a passport appointment. Even post offices are now requiring appointments, and you can make those online at usps.gov, I believe. Now I say that and I'm not sure. But anyway, you can make it on the United States Postal Service website. So again, it's relatively painless. You just need to do a few things before you go. I recommend having photos done beforehand. It just saves time. It doesn't really save much money because the post office can do photos as well. Costs about the same amount, but sometimes the post office has to do retakes. So it could save time. You can get those done at Walgreens for about $20. AAA members can go to a AAA branch in their city and have them done for free. Don't take the photos at home. The government is very particular about size, background, head sizing, glasses, smiles. I mean, basically anything. More than likely, you'll take that photo at home and then you'll have to have it redone anyway. So just don't do it at home. You can download and fill out all the necessary US passport forms online, and that is at travel.state.gov, and you will find the link in the show notes. Make sure that you take all forms of ID that are required for yourself, and if you are getting a passport for a child, for that child as well. Proof of US citizenship, certified birth certificate, record of birth abroad, if that's the case, valid driver's license, military ID, and then a photocopy of each document. Sometimes they request it. More often than not, now I haven't had to send those in. Don't forget that children require passports as well. They do take a little bit more paperwork, and both parents need to be with the child when the passport is applied for. You will have to include evidence of the parent relationship and present IDs for both parents as well as signatures on the form. First-time applicants pay an application fee and an applicant fee. And if you are at the post office, you will also pay shipping charges. And plan ahead. Finally, just plan ahead. Passports should only take 4 to 6 weeks to arrive back to you, but they can take longer. So I recommend a 2 to 3 month window. And there you have it. That is really all you need to visit Ireland. So I promised you simple and fast, and there it was. As always, if you have any questions, you can email me, Jody, Jody, at IrelandFamilyVacations.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to leave a 5-star review at your favorite podcast player. And until next time, slán go fóill.